I'm not coming back. Found someone way better and already dropped your stuff off at storage. That was the text my wife sent me. My name's Walter Hayes, maybe 58 years old, standing in the kitchen of our apartment in Cedar Creek around 11:50 on a Wednesday night, just staring at my phone. My wife, Brenda, was supposed to be on day 5 of a trip with her friends to Silver Peak. The message came with a picture of a bank screen. About $145,000 had been moved from our shared savings into her personal account. I put the phone down and finished my coffee. 19 years of marriage, just like that, over in 2 sentences and a picture. For months, I'd seen the hints. Weekend trips that got longer, new clothes she never wore when I was around, phone calls that would suddenly stop when I walked into the room. I noticed it all. My job is finding money problems, spotting things that don't add up. That's what I do for a living. But I didn't say anything. Maybe that was my first mistake. Or maybe my first mistake was marrying someone who thought my job was just spreadsheets and boring numbers. I opened my laptop and checked one of my email accounts, one Brenda didn't know about. 4 alerts from my bank's security system. Someone had tried to change passwords on accounts Brenda had never seen. She was being very careful. I had to give her credit for that. I picked up my phone and typed back just 2 words. Good luck. Then I called my brother, Sam. Remember that backup plan we talked about 6 years ago? I asked when he answered. It's time. Are you sure? He asked. Yeah, I said. She just made her move. I hung up and looked at our wedding photo on the wall. It was the only picture left in the place with both of us in it. Should have noticed that sooner, too. I first met Brenda Miller at an event for people who went to the state college. I was 42, just divorced after a quick first marriage, and really focused on building my business, finding hidden money. Brenda was 38, full of life, wanting to do big things, and totally not interested in what I did. I don't need to understand the details, she'd say whenever I tried to explain a case. Just make sure you make enough so we can live comfortably. We got married after knowing each other for about 1.5 years. I helped her start her wellness studio, paying for everything from my savings. When she wanted a bigger house in a nicer area, I said yes. When she wanted fancy cars and expensive holidays, I just nodded and signed the checks. My dad had said something to me once. We were fixing his porch, and he stopped, holding his hammer. Son, he said slowly, I see your wife likes to spend a lot of your money. Just make sure she respects what you do to earn it. I didn't think much of it then, but it stayed with me. Around 7 years into our marriage, I started quietly changing how my money was set up. Nothing against the law, just making things safe. I started a couple of small companies, set up some accounts that were hard to get to, put money into online currency, and had accounts overseas for some of my clients. Brenda knew about our main checking and savings, but that was it. I saw her spending more and more time with people online who were big in the health and fitness world. Her followers on social media went up to tens of thousands. She started taking trips with her wellness groups. First just weekends, then full weeks. You wouldn't like it, she'd say. It's all health talk and drinking smoothies. The Christmas before last, she forgot my birthday. When I brought it up the next day, she bought me a really expensive watch and said, I've just been so busy with making the studio bigger. I took the watch, but that night, I finished up the paperwork for my backup plan. All the signs were there. I just didn't want to see the whole picture. The morning after her text, I woke up early and made coffee, like I always did. Old habits are hard to break, even when everything's falling apart. I signed into my main money system, which I'd built for my work but used for myself too. With just a few clicks, I turned on the backup plan that Sam and I had set up years before. First, I froze all our joint accounts and credit cards. Then, I reported the $145,000 transfer as fraud, using my contacts at the bank to make it happen fast. I sent documents showing she'd done something wrong with the money to my lawyer, telling her to file for divorce right away. Then I called my mom. Brenda left me, I said simply. She took the money and moved my things out while she was supposed to be away. My mom was quiet for a bit. I'm sorry, Walter, she finally said, but I can't say I'm surprised. What are you going to do? What I've been getting ready to do for years, I said. Protect what's mine. An hour later, my phone showed Brenda's name calling. I didn't answer. 12 more calls came. Then a text. What the heck did you do? The money's gone and my cards don't work. I didn't text back. Instead, I drove to the storage place she'd mentioned in her text. Using the code she'd sent, I got 3 boxes of my clothes and my laptop. My other stuff, family photos, books, things for my dad, wasn't there. That's when something inside me got hard. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about 19 years thrown away like nothing. It was about someone thinking they could just wipe me out of my own life. I stopped at a coffee shop and opened my laptop. Using special money information only people like me can get, I looked up everything I could find on Chad Peterson, the fitness guy Brenda had been tagging in pictures for months, the someone way better she'd talked about. What I found proved what I thought. Chad's gym business was in deep trouble. For credit cards maxed out, a place he was renting that he couldn't pay for, and Brenda had already signed for a car loan with him 3 months ago. I closed my laptop and drove to a hotel. For the first time in years, I knew exactly what I had to do. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Tuesday morning, I walked into my office like nothing had happened. My assistant, Carol, looked up, surprised. Walter, I thought you'd be taking time off. Brenda called here 5 times already. Oh yeah, I said, not really asking. She sounded upset, Carol said. Said there was a mix-up with your accounts and she needed to talk to you right away. I nodded. If she calls again, tell her to get in touch with my lawyer. By noon, Brenda had stopped calling and showed up herself. The person at the front desk buzzed my office. Your wife is here. She really wants to see you. I sighed and went out to the lobby. Brenda was standing there, fancy sunglasses pushed back on her head, her workout clothes matching perfectly. She smiled when she saw me, the same smile she'd used for 19 years when she wanted something. Walter, there's been a huge mix-up with the bank, she said loudly so everyone could hear. All our accounts are frozen. Not a mix-up, I said quietly. You moved money without permission. The bank flagged it as fraud. Her smile didn't look so sure anymore. It was our joint account. I'm your wife. You're my soon-to-be ex-wife who cleaned out our savings while telling me you'd moved out and found someone new. That's clearly doing something wrong with money. She dropped her voice to a whisper, sounding mad. You can't do this to me. I've already put money down on a new place. I've promised things to Chad Peterson. Yeah, I know all about those promises. Her face turned white. You're checking up on me? No, just protecting myself from fraud. I'll fight this, she snapped. I deserve half of everything. I looked right at her. Half of what's in those accounts? Sure. But you seem to think that's all there is. She blinked, confused. What are you talking about? You'll find out later when we have to share documents, I said, then turned and walked back to my office. That afternoon, I got an email from Brenda's new lawyer, demanding access to all my money records right away and saying they'd tell people about problems in my work if I didn't do what they said. It was a stupid move, an empty threat. I sent it to my lawyer with just one line. Go ahead with the plan. By evening, Brenda had gotten friends we both knew to be on her side. My phone was full of messages asking why I was being mean and controlling. No one had asked where she'd been the past week or who she'd been with. No one asked about the money she'd taken. I didn't bother answering. Instead, I went to the gym, not Brenda's studio or Chad's flashy workout center, but the small local gym I'd been going to for years. I lifted weights until my arms were shaking, then drove back to my hotel room. The trap was closing, but not on me. 4 days later, my lawyer called. We found something interesting, she said. Brenda's been taking money from your joint account for over a year and a half. Small amounts at first, then bigger ones. Where did it go? I asked, even though I was pretty sure I knew. Several accounts, some to her own savings, but most went to a business name listed under Chad Peterson. About $92,000 total. And she used our joint money for it? Yes. Which means we can add that she wasn't faithful with money to the divorce papers. I thanked her and hung up. I wasn't really surprised, but hearing it confirmed still felt like being hit in the stomach. Brenda hadn't just left me for someone else. She'd been planning it for over a year and a half, paying for her leaving and her new boyfriend's business with my money. That night, I got a text from a number I didn't know. You need to back off. Brenda deserves better than you. Don't make this worse than it has to be. Chad Peterson getting involved directly. Interesting. I drove to my brother Sam's house the next morning. Sam worked with computer security, which fit perfectly with my money skills. We'd worked together on cases before, but this was different. I need everything you can find on Peterson Fitness LLC, I told him. Bank statements, loans, anything where he asked for credit, everything. Sam raised an eyebrow. Just using legal ways, right? Of course. We're just putting together public information faster than most people could. 4 hours later, we had the answer. Chad Peterson wasn't just in debt. He was drowning in it. His social media looked like he was doing great, but his business was failing. The new machines, making the place bigger, the events he held, all paid for with risky loans, and more recently, Brenda's money. But there was something else. Something Brenda couldn't have known. Look at this, Sam said, pointing at his screen. Peterson asked for a small business loan 5 months ago. Used the gym equipment as a guarantee. That's normal, I said. Yeah, but look who signed for it with him. I leaned closer. The paper showed Brenda's signature on a $210,000 loan for equipment. She signed that before she left you, Sam said quietly. But here's the kicker. The loan says the husband and wife are both responsible. They used your marriage status to get better terms. I stared at the screen. She put my money and property at risk for his loan without me knowing? Exactly. And there's more. 4 credit cards, a car lease, and the rent for the new business place. All signed by Brenda with him. All using your shared property and money as a guarantee. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, kids were playing in the yard next door, not knowing anything about the messy grown-up world. She has no idea what she's done, I said finally. And neither does he. The next morning, I met with my lawyer and showed her everything we'd found. I want to move fast, I told her, before they realize what's going on. She looked over the papers and nodded. We'll ask for emergency protection of your money and property today. The loan fraud alone is enough to freeze everything until the divorce is final. That afternoon, I drove to Peterson Fitness. The gym looked fancy and new, with inspiring words painted on the walls and pictures of Chad all over the front. Inside, young people in expensive workout clothes were taking pictures of themselves between not very hard sets. Chad saw me right away. He was taller than I expected, with that fake tan and perfect teeth of someone who built their job on how they looked. He walked over, holding out his hand, a perfect smile on his face. You must be Walter, he said. Brenda's mentioned you. I'm sure she has, I said, not shaking his hand. We need to talk alone. His smile didn't look so perfect anymore, but he led me to his office. It had glass walls so everyone could see in, but it was soundproof. What can I do for you? He asked, closing the door. I put a folder on his desk. This has every paper that connects you and Brenda with money. Loans, credit cards, leases, all signed by her using our shared money and property as a guarantee. He picked up the folder carefully. I don't get it. It's simple. Brenda used our marriage to back your business loans. Now we're getting divorced, and those guarantees aren't valid anymore. The color drained from his face as he quickly looked through the pages. These are all proper business deals between Brenda and me. Maybe, but the banks approved them because of the money and income we had together. Money she can't get to anymore. He closed the folder. What do you want? Nothing from you. I just thought you should know what's coming. The banks will be asking for that money back very soon. Brenda said you were wealthy, he said, his voice getting harder. That money isn't a problem for you. Money's never been the problem, I said. Trust was. I stood up to leave, but stopped at the door. One more thing. When Brenda moved out, she took some things that mean a lot to me. Family photos, my dad's watch, things you can't buy with money. He stared at me for a long time. I'll see what I can do. I nodded and left. The next day, a delivery person brought a box to my hotel. Inside were the missing photos, my dad's watch, and other personal items. No note came with it. That same afternoon, my lawyer confirmed that the emergency protection for my money had been approved. All shared money and property would stay frozen until the divorce was finished. I signed into my money system and checked the alerts. Brenda had tried to get into our frozen account 20 times in the last day. She'd also tried to open a new credit account using our house as a guarantee. Denied. My phone lit up with her name again. This time I answered. "What have you done?" she demanded, her voice shaking. The bank called back Chad's loans, all of them. "They're taking his equipment tomorrow." "That's too bad," I said calmly. "This is you being mean, Walter. You're ruining him to get back at me. I'm not doing anything to him. I'm just protecting myself from something wrong that was done. You used our marriage to guarantee his loans without me knowing or agreeing. That's against the law. We can work this out," she said, her voice suddenly soft. "Come home, we'll talk." 19 years married, and she still thought she could trick me that easily. "There's nothing to work out," I said. "The divorce will happen. The investigation into the fraud will keep going, and Chad will learn an expensive lesson about checking things properly." I hung up and blocked her number. That night, I slept better than I had in months. For weeks later, I sat in a meeting room as Brenda and her lawyer arrived for the meeting the court ordered. She looked tired. The fancy clothes and perfect makeup couldn't hide the stress. Her lawyer spoke first. "My client is willing to be fair about dividing the money and property, even with the harsh things that have been done so far." My lawyer smiled politely. "That's good to hear, because something new has happened." She slid a paper across the table. "The bank has finished its investigation into the fraud. They found that Brenda faked Walter's signature on multiple loan documents, using their shared property as a guarantee without his knowledge." Brenda's lawyer quickly read the paper, his face turning pale. "We'll need time to look this over." "Of course," my lawyer said, "but you should know that the bank has already sent the matter to the local prosecutor. This meeting is a kindness before criminal charges are filed." Brenda stared at me, her eyes wide. "Criminal charges? Walter, you can't be serious." I looked back at her steadily. "I didn't file the charges. The bank did. That's what happens when you commit loan fraud." Her lawyer whispered something in her ear. She shook her head strongly. "If Ms. Miller is willing to sign the agreement we've suggested today," my lawyer continued, "Walter is ready to give a statement to the bank that could help reduce the criminal problems. He won't press charges for the missing personal items or the money taken from the joint account." I watched as the world Brenda had built so carefully fell apart. She'd expected anger, jealousy, perhaps even me begging. She hadn't expected consequences. "The agreement is generous," I said quietly. "You keep your wellness studio, which was always making money. You keep your car and personal things. You don't get any support payments, and you take responsibility for the debts you created using my name." "And Chad?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Mr. Peterson's money problems are his own," my lawyer replied. "But without your husband's property backing those loans, I understand the bank has already started taking back his equipment." Brenda signed the papers without arguing anymore. As we left the room, she grabbed my arm. "I never thought you'd fight back like this," she said. "You always just went along with everything." "That was my choice," I replied. "Just like this was your choice." I walked away without looking back. About 5 weeks later, I moved out of the hotel and into a small house near the center of Cedar Creek. Nothing fancy, just an older house that needed some work, the kind of project that would keep my hands and mind busy in the evenings. I heard from friends we both knew that Brenda had moved out of state to start fresh. Her social media showed mountain views and positive messages about new beginnings. Chad's gym had been bought by a bigger company, and he'd moved to a different city to grow his brand. Neither of them mentioned what had happened. People don't usually talk about their failures. My brother Sam came by one Saturday to help me put in new cabinets in the kitchen. "Heard anything from Brenda?" he asked as we measured for the doors. "No," I said. "And I don't expect to. You know, you could have taken her for everything. Just the fraud charges alone would have made sure of that." I shrugged. What would be the point? She's not my problem anymore. We worked in comfortable quiet for a while. The steady back and forth of measuring, cutting, and putting things up felt calm. "I'm thinking of taking some time off," I said eventually. "Maybe drive up north, do some fishing at the lake house." "Dad would like that," Sam replied. "You haven't been up there since he passed away." That evening, after Sam left, I sat on my back porch with a drink. The neighborhood was quiet, just the sound of a dog barking or kids laughing sometimes. Different from the fancy neighborhood Brenda had wanted. Felt more real somehow. I thought about the last 19 years, how I'd let someone else decide my life, what I was worth. How I'd seen the signs but decided not to pay attention. How when the moment came, I was ready because some part of me had always known this day would come. I didn't feel like I'd won. I didn't feel like things were even. I just felt free. The next morning, I called my office and told them I'd be taking 3 weeks off. Then I packed my truck, locked up the house, and headed north. No plan, no expectations, just the open road. And for the first time in years, no hidden list of bad feelings to settle.